So as many of you guys know, Ken Carson has announced his upcoming album. His next album will be called The Experiment, which has a lot of curiosity and a lot of questions within the fan base, right? Obviously with the name being The Experiment, that comes with a lot of questions, and a lot of people really don't know, what The Experiment, the next album from Ken Carson, is really gonna sound like, right? A lot of people have been saying, Ken Carson has been making the same song over and over again. He's getting repetitive, it's getting a little stale. What is Ken Carson's range or bag really look like in terms of diversity? A lot of people have been questioning that, and a lot of people are super curious as to what this album is going to sound like. And as of last night, Ken Carson did preview 4 new snippets from his upcoming album, so let's talk about it. So as you guys can see right here, like I said in the intro last night, Ken Carson did preview 4 whole new snippets on IG Live, which raised a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. We'll get into that later. But before we get into that, I just kind of want to set the foundation as to what we know as Ken Carson fans so far as to what to expect in terms of sound, in terms of album, and what to expect in the future, right? Obviously, I would say we don't really know too much, to be quite honest, right? Obviously, one, we know that the next album is going to be called The Experiment. He said this, on June 4th, right? He tweeted right here, The Experiment, Ken Carson's next album is going to be called The Experiment, which, like I said in the intro, raises a lot of questions as to what does that truly mean, especially for Ken Carson, right? Because I personally feel like we've never really seen Ken Carson truly experiment as to something that's so left field that we really had to sit back and be like, yo, this is Ken Carson's sound, this is Ken Carson's bag. I didn't know he had it in him, right? We really haven't had that moment so far as Ken Carson fans, which really isn't that big of a deal, to be quite honest. I've said this for the longest time. I think Ken Carson's discography and I think his sound overall has aged so gracefully throughout every single one of the projects, right? Because if we look at Ken's discography from the start, right? First album being Project X back in 2021, right? You could see like an infant stage or like the birth or like the genesis of like the chaos sound, which obviously Ken Carson is truly known for in today, right? Which really blew up Ken, right? Obviously there was that like hyper pop-ish, melodic type of sound with this project. Like I guess like Change, Till I Die, So What? But really what everybody knows Ken Carson for and what a lot of people have been crowned as Ken Carson's sound is obviously the chaos sound, right? And that started, I'd say, on Project X, not even Project X, if we go back even further, really to like Teen X, more so I'd say Relapse. Well, actually like Teen X, because the first, I really say, Rage song or like the infant start of the chaos sound was really like Yale. And then you've seen it grow into like a Teenager Rager. And then you've seen it grow into like, I'd say like a Clutch on a Project X. And then obviously once we get X, he really hit it with like Freestyle 2. That was really like, okay, he turned it up a notch, right? Because it started at Yale, then Teenager Rager, then Clutch, and then Freestyle 2. And then obviously I personally think he perfected it on AGC, right? Like that's like the perfect chaos sound from Ken. Then everybody was like, yo, where is Ken gonna move forward from this, right? How do you take the AGC sound even further with a project like More Chaos? And eventually he did it with More Chaos, right? So going back, we really didn't need too much experimentation from Ken Carson, right? Because over the years, I feel like Ken has just been like slowly just like polishing the chaos sound, right? This project to this project to this project, which is its peak in my opinion. And then here, I was like, it's a little too much for me personally, right? So obviously after More Chaos, everybody's like, yo, where the hell do you take it further from this? And obviously at this point too, I feel like a lot of people are just a little bit over it, right? Because we've been seeing it for a couple of years. We really want to see, how deep is Ken Carson's bag in terms of his range and diversity, and we're getting that with the project obviously on the way called The Experiment, right? So like I said, we truly haven't seen Ken Carson really step out of his box, really, try different type of things, really compare to Destroy Lonely, which is why I will personally always respect Lone. Even if you don't like a Destroy Lonely album, you gotta respect the attempt Lone takes on every single project, because on every single Lone project, it does not sound the same compared to the last one, right? You cannot compare Broken Hearts to No Stylist, to Listed Kill, to Love Lasts Forever, to BH3, right? And that's really the difference between Ken and Lone, right? Ken just really stuck with one sound and just polished it, made it better and better and better. You really knew what you're gonna expect going into a Ken Carson project. But with a Lone project, you don't know what type of swag he's on. He can go on that like ATL. This was like more of a trap album. Then he goes back a little of like the Broken Hearts type swag, but modernizes a little bit. No Stylist, you get a completely different guitar type of sound. I'd say he tried to like polish it on Listed Kill, that really like dark, opium. This was like the perfect example of that, right? So they have really taken two different approaches within their career. And I personally think, and I think a majority of the fan base think, it's time for Ken Carson to switch it up. So this is very good news for the experiment, right? That was a little bit of yap sesh, but that was kind of like how we ended up here within 2025. What is today? September 29, 2025. How we arrived at this album for Ken Carson, right? It's very, very interesting, right? And then also, we also seen that Ken Carson said like, yo, I'm gonna approach this project with more of a melodic type of vibe. I think he said he wanted to sing a little bit more. If you guys didn't see that clip, this is what he said right here.
Yeah, now I wanna make some shit for the girls.
Yeah.
Say now I wanna make something for the girls.
The baddies love you, real.
The baddies run the fucking world.
And what do you see for your future? How do you want to take it forward?
This is what he said.
I think I want to go like more melodic. I'm gonna get like more overseas type songs.
So he said more overseas, more melodic. Now he probably maybe might have just been yapping, maybe for the girl. We don't know, right? But that's what he said in terms of like a melodic type of sound. Then he said experimental. So we don't know what the hell to expect. So that's why with a lot of these new snippets, a lot of people are really putting them under a microscope like, yo, are these truly experimental? So last night we were streaming and then a lot of people were just spamming, yo, Ken is on IG Live, join up. So we've seen all of these snippets within real time, which I'm not gonna lie, all of these are really fire, but still brings up the question, are these truly experimental? So let's hear this. So this is the first one, I don't know the names of this. This is hard. This sounds dope. Just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Okay, he's singing more. So I would say he definitely is not capping what he said right here. He is singing on a lot of these new snippets, right? So I don't want to listen to the full one because I'm trying to dodge copyright. And y'all know how that goes, right? But that's the first one. We're going to call this one like the truth. This is the second one right here. Oh, this is that like 2 hours type one. I guess, yeah, this is considered experimentation from Ken Carson because this really sounds like a 2 hours type game. I'll give him this one. I'll say this is experimentation. Okay, so that's that like 2 Hollis EDM type one. Then let's get into the next one, the third one. Come on, dude, dismantle. Okay. So that's that one. Then let's just go to the last one. This remind me of X. Okay. X Games, like that type of era from Ken. So that's all the 4 new snippets from Ken Carson right here, which I'm not gonna lie, out of listening to these 4 one more time, I would say last night I was like, yo, I don't really see the experimentation within these new snippets. I would say this 2 Hollis, this second one does give off that vibe. This is definitely a bag we've never seen Ken reach in, but I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these just kind of sound like, I said it last night, this kind of reminds me of Ken going back to his X sound, but incorporating like the more chaos drums, the more chaos 808s, right? It really feels like an X album like melody alongside obviously the more, because these are still like banging, knocking, crazy, you know, turn lit. But it does have that like X, I don't know if it's like video game-ish, I guess like video game-ish type of sound, right? Like, what is a good example? Maybe like Turn Up? Yeah, like Turn Up.
switched up on me at the end.
It really sounds like he's combining these two type of sounds, like the Morecast with an X, combining like the old sound with the new sound. But I can't really say this would fit under like the experiment. I guess it is a little different from Ken, but when I think of, you know, the album The Experiment, I don't know if Ken Carson's gonna reinvent himself, but I am trying to hear something that's like, oh my god, I've never heard this whatsoever. Whereas this is kind of like combining the old with the new, which sounds fire. I like all these snippets. He went 4 for 4. I really like all these snippets. But for an album called The Experiment, I'm expecting a little more. But we were saying it last night on stream. Ken really might be saving some crazy stuff. He might have some dope, crazy left field 180 off the wall type stuff in the tug, just like waiting for the album to release. And I think at this point, I think Ken Carson's just trying to like feel the waters with the fans, like how are fans, you know, picking up on this type of sound compared to like the earlier snippets, which I really like Pine and Red. But I'm really curious to see if Ken really experiments, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are like, yo, this still kind of like sounds like a More Chaos. Like right here, Don Mikowski said even More Chaos sounds the exact same as More Chaos. This is why Lone Walls be clear. Now I wouldn't say sounds the exact same. Like I said, it kind of has that X with more chaos, but like I said, it still has that more chaos type of feel. I'm curious if he's gonna truly abandon that, which I don't think Ken really needs to do, because obviously the chaos sound is like Ken Carson. That's what you go to Ken Carson for. So I don't expect this next album to have just like no turn lit type song. That's kind of unrealistic. I think he should sprinkle like a couple of songs, maybe like half of like this old with the new, and then like the second half of the project just like a completely new sound. I don't really know, but we will see. I don't really think this album is near whatsoever. For The Experiment from Ken Carson, it's probably gonna be like, I don't know, like spring, summerish 2026. I personally don't think he's dropping within 2025, and it's not needed whatsoever, right? They're about to go on the Opium Tour, October through December, end of year, boom. Starts heating it up, you know, Q1, maybe drops Q3 in 2026. We will see, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below in terms of these new snippets from Ken Carson. Do they fit under the name The Experiment? What do you guys want to see with the album named The Experiment? Do you guys want to see Ken hop in this type of bag, more AGC deluxe type of sounds? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys like this video, like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's MONEYMAY, and I'm out. Thank you guys.